I'd like to call the Board of Education meeting to order. Please rise on the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please have a seat. I want to welcome everybody here today. We're going to start off with communications, and the first person up is going to be on the financial reports. Our financial officer, Lisa Coyle, please.
Okay, we just finished getting ready to in the month of May, but we're actually going to go through the financial statements through the end of April. You can see we started out the month at $12 million. We had total revenue of 2.2, total expenditures of 2.1. So our balance at the end of the month was 12 million. Now, how does that break down when you're looking at the funds? General fund is basically our unrestricted fund. So that's where the majority of all of our instruction comes from, is that $10 million. So that went down $680,000. During the month of April, we received $68,000 in property taxes. Again, it keeps going down, which is expected at this time. We also received $117,000 in motor vehicle taxes, $51,840 in E-rate reimbursements, which was basically receiving a portion of what we pay out for data lines for the surrounding schools. And then we also receive about $1 million in SEEK. As far as payments going out for the month, we paid $37,000 to increase our security upgrades throughout the district. We also did a $25,000 purchase for paper, which some of that will be reimbursed by schools of the next school year. And then we had $1.7 million in salaries, which is a typical month. So that's coming out of the general fund. So that's where the decrease. We also transferred about $552,000 for the West Marion roof. Again, with that, the board made the decision that the general fund would pay for the roof at West Marion. So that money is transferred from general fund here to construction, so that the cost will go through the construction account. So that's why you see the decrease in Fund 1 and the increase in the construction fund. These other projects, Fund 2, Fund 21, 31, 32, 36, 451, restricted. They can only be, that money can only be spent for specific items. So Fund 2 are grants, state, federal grants. Capital outlay, building fund and construction, buildings, maintenance, repairs, bond payments. That's what those monies are used for. Food service fund, cafeteria services only. So, like I said, you know, our general fund has gone down. When I compared that balance to last year at the end of April, it was 10.5. So that has gone down about 400,000. Any questions on the balance sheet?
Anybody have a question? Okay.
I'll go to the income statement. Now this is looking at expenses from July 1st, 2015 through April 30th of 2016. So it's 10 months out of the year of our school year, and we're comparing to the same time frame for last school year. Total revenue is about $25 million compared to about $24 million last year. The difference is in local sources. It's gone up about $400,000, which is property taxes, about $244,000 of that. Preschool tuition, we've raised about $30,000 there. And then omitted property taxes, which comes from the state, is up about $58,000. So that's what the reason for the local source increase. State sources is SEEK. We anticipate an increase in SEEK this year over last year. The other revenue sources is down $112,000, and that is because last year we transferred $134,000 from the capital outlay fund into general fund to pay for the Kisbet assessment. This year, we've just used general fund money. We're not transferring from capital outlay. General fund will, and the money was actually down. Last year it was $134,000. This year it was about $83,000. So we're just paying for that out of general fund.
Ms. Cole, how much longer are we going to be making that kid the assessment thing?
It is a 6-year agreement, so we still got about 4 years left. When you look at total expenses, total expenses through April 30th is $16 million compared to $14 million. What's making up a lot of that? One, we have a state mandated salary increase, which was 2%, and also experience level step increases. Employee benefits is up about $60,000. The requirement for school districts to pay into retirement on behalf of certified employees is now at 3%. And so the increase over last year, there is $78,000 increase over last year. So that's why employee benefits.
Is that mandated by the state?
That is mandated, correct. When you look at the professional and technical services, it's up about $38,000. That's the added security measures that we have done. We now have badges that you can scan at the building to get in, so that there's more security at each of the levels for employees to get in and out. And then when you look at the supplies and material, you can see it's down about $83,000. Electricity has gone down, which we're doing better with our energy upgrades, and so we expect the electricity to go down. And also, it was a mild year. Winter was not like it was last year, so it was a mild year, so we expected a decrease then. Also, diesel is down about $39,000, so that's why that amount has gone down. Property, the truck, bus, at this time last year, we hadn't paid for those items, and so that's just a timing issue of $182,000. And then when you look at this right here, the $621,000 increase, again, that's the West Marion roof. It's a transfer out into construction, so it shows up as an expense in general fund. Any questions on that?
So the current year-to-date budget is through the month of April.
The budget actually is the whole year budget. And so when we're looking at the actual expenses here, that is 16 million of the 31 million has been spent. But remember, included in that 31 million is your beginning balance carry forward of 6 million. So
Change your pump out.
I have removed the on behalf to hopefully get it so that it doesn't skew the numbers as much. I believe I did it for this month. Okay. Any questions on the income statement? Okay, we'll take a quick look at food services. When you look at food services, revenue's up about $81,000. When I look at the current year income, excluding beginning balance, and compare that to current year expenses, revenue is higher than expenses by about $82,000. Last year, it was less by about $15,000. So the total expenses is up about $22,000, and basically, I mean, food is up $72,000. So we've actually had savings in other categories when you compare it to what has actually gone up in the cost of food.
Didn't also, every year, don't the state or some of the federal government mandate how much you have to charge for meals, that kind of thing?
Correct.
So-
There's a calculation that is performed every year to determine what price has to be paid at the school in order to receive federal reimbursement.
So, but doesn't that kind of indicate, though, we actually have an income, increase of income, but it's because of the mandates, is that correct?
It's an increase in revenue.
That's okay.
Yes. Any questions on the food service?
Okay, item 4, Student Learning Services, consider approval of fiscal year 2017 Appeals Panel Committee as certified evaluation plan.
I move that we approve the fiscal year 2017 Appeals Panel Committee as stated.
The chair looking for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Butch Cecil. Any questions or discussions on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, ayes have it. Item 4B, consider approval of 2016-17 pay dates and time reporting schedules, attachment 1. The floor is open for a motion.
I move that we consider approval of 2016-17 pay dates and time reporting schedules, attachment 1.
Need a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Jerry, have any discussions on that item?
This is the same as last year, isn't it? Or is it different?
We pay twice a month, and we always pay the 15th. The ending dates are, depends on when that ending date normally falls of the month, 29, 30, 31st.
Okay, any other questions or discussions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, ayes have it. Item 5, Student Support Services, consider approval of 2016-2017 tentative budget. Floor is open for a motion to approve 5A.
I move that we approve the 2016-17 tentative budget.
Second.
Second from, motion by Mr. Peace, second by Mr. Reed. Any discussion of the tentative budget?
Well, yes, I do. And I just want to say at this point that I want to make sure that I understand this tentative budget. I mean, we're going to be, I know I've been having questions about the budget, and I don't quite understand the budget, so I want to understand the budget. I know we had a working session, but we didn't have, when we had our working session, we didn't have this tentative budget in front of us. I noticed that on this budget that are carried forward is 6.5 million. But yet, when we get down to the bottom, it's zeroed out. So the 6.5 million is somewhere in this budget, tentative budget. Now, what I think we ought to do is we ought to put this money, I know we have a certain amount in the contingency fund, but I think we ought to put the total balance in the contingency fund and then not have it buried up inside this tentative budget, because I think what we're doing is that 6.5, we've got that. But we've had it every year. I mean, if you look back at every time we do this budget, we have about $6 million. And I know it's, what's the amount we put in our contingency?
It's
Is
2.3.
2.3 million. And that, of course, that's mandated. We have to have a certain amount in there per Frankfurt. Well, my suggestion is the rest of this, so it would be 2.3, that'd be 4.2 million more that's in this tentative budget. That, looking through this, I can't tell where that's at. And I think that for me to understand it, I need to be able to look at this and see where that money's going. But then again, it's zeroed out. So then when we do our next budget, it seems to me that we still have the $6 million. That's why I'm suggesting it goes into contingency fund. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I read an article, I think it was not LaRue, but Laurel County. Yesterday, they had 11% contingency in their contingency fund. So, I mean, I don't know what percent that would be for us, but we'd have a record of showing where that money's at. And then I think it would be a truer budget for each one of these line items, is my thinking about it. Now, looking at the tentative budget, I don't know if anybody else is in this boat that I'm in, but I looked through it the last couple of nights. So we've only had it 2 nights. Tuesday, we got it Tuesday night. So we're talking about approving this tentative budget, and I just don't see how I can approve this budget. And I've only looked at it for a couple of days now, a couple of nights really. And last night I had a family emergency, so I couldn't look at it at all. So I'm suggesting that we don't approve this until all of it until all of us have a chance. And I may just speak, I'm just speaking for me. They may all understand it. I don't understand this budget.
Can I address?
Sure.
Okay, the tentative budget is a middle process. This is not our final budget.
Right.
The final budget's not approved until September, okay? What is included in this budget is what was discussed during the work session in May. And the board said that you wanted to pull that out. So that contingency and the carry forward is pulled out. It does show up in these numbers, because it doesn't, excuse me, it doesn't show up in just a contingency line, but it is reserved for board direction that only I'm watching to make sure that it's not spent.
Well, that 4.2 is in the
Correct. It has to be in order to be a balanced budget.
right. But then when we get, as the months go by,
Yes.
and then boom, at the end of the year, we still have the 6 million. We didn't spend any of
Correct.
it.
Correct.
That's what's happened ever since I've been on board.
Yes.
And that's what I'm suggesting. Don't put it in all these, buried in all these.
It is in a few, it's in probably 10 lines now, whereas before it was put in other lines, but it is very contained now.
Mr. Reed?
Well, we've got to approve a tentative budget by May 30th.
Yeah.
So, we had a 2-hour work session where we had a great deal of dialogue about what was going to go in this budget, and we have to approve a tentative budget. And that's what it is, it's a tentative budget.
Correct.
We have between now and September to enter a final budget. And if we're not convinced in September that the budget that we're presented is appropriate, we'll have time between now and then to work on it. But, I don't come to this board from an educational background. So it is difficult, and it's taken the better part of 2 years for me to wrap my head around. We get all of our revenue we get most of our revenue during a 3-month period when the property taxes come in. That revenue has to be budgeted to carry us through not only the end of that budget year, but we have to have a robust enough savings to pay payroll and those things through August and September and October until the property tax checks come in again at the end of the year. So we have to have a robust carry forward. This is the same way that school districts all over the state do this. I have inquired about where this carry forward balance goes in the budget, and I am convinced that we're doing things exactly the way everyone else does it. So are there things about this budget that we may need to take a look at before September? Absolutely. But we are obligated to pass a budget, a tentative budget, by May 30th, and we're here, and now today's the day to do that.
Mr. Pinker?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Reed. I have no problem with this as it is. This is the way that we have done it for a number of years. We know what the carry forward is. We know how much money is there, and it is used for sometimes unexpected things that come along during the year. It's used for roofs sometimes. It's used for things like that. It is there, and when you have a $30 million budget, it takes a lot of money for those. And when you have $500,000 at a time, it can go away very, very quickly. And so I see nothing. We all know what's there. And I find no fault with this myself.
Mr. Evans?
Yeah, I would concur with Mr. Cecil in that I need some further clarification. I have no problem with voting a yay on the tentative budget, which is before us, with the stipulation that we have another meeting long before the September deadline for the actual budget to be approved with further clarification. Some of us may be a little slower than others in digesting, analyzing, and being able to fully understand, but I fall in that category. So I have no problem agreeing to or voting yea for the tentative budget with the stipulation we'll have another session with Ms. Coel and whoever else deem appropriate to further clarify in the minds of some of the board members exactly where this $6 million is allocated to and for what specifically allocated for.
I move the question. All those in favor of moving the question, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign ayes.
No, I don't agree.
Okay, the ayes have it. The main,
We need a second on that, Mr.
okay, I'm sorry. Yes, okay.
And then
I
we need to
did-
vote on it.
I did
You're gonna
second.
call them questions.
Dwayne, you made the motion and I seconded it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did that already.
Okay. No, if he's calling the question, we need a vote on that. And we need a second on that. We've been doing that recently, and a person just can't say, I call it the question.
Oh, okay, you
You've
second.
got to.
Okay.
you-
I'll call the question, you second the
I'll
question.
second.
All those in favor of calling the question, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign, ayes have it. Now back to the main motion itself. Is everybody in agreement for that?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the tentative budget for 2016-2017, say aye. All those,
Question. I asked that there be a stipulation that we have a session prior to voting on the next budget, or the actual budget. That was part of the initial motion request.
And put that in form of a motion, and
I move that,
but we need, somebody needs to withdraw the motion in on the main motion.
the maker of the motion accept a friendly amendment to the motion.
yes.
Okay, the amendment to the motion is that the approval of the tentative budget be voted upon with the stipulation that the board will convene much earlier than the September deadline for further clarification of the budget.
Whoever made the second, will have to withdraw that too.
I'll withdraw it.
Okay.
And we need a second to the amendment to the motion.
I'll second the amendment.
All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 All those opposed, like sign. Ayes have it.
No, I don't, okay, I don't know exactly what you're doing here, because I don't agree with the tentative budget, even with the stipulation.
Okay.
And that's just, so I'm not voting aye.
You
vote
voted
yes.
They've got you down, no.
Okay.
You know, okay. So we've voted to approve the tentative budget with the stipulation to have another work session to deal with the working budget, is that correct? Before September. So we've already voted on it, everybody agree we voted on it?
Yes.
Okay, next item up. Number 5B, consider approval of fiscal year 2017 salary schedules. There's attachment for that, attachment 2.
Can I address the
Yes,
board?
please.
I'd like to ask the board to only consider the bus driver salary schedule this time, and that the salary schedule in and of itself be approved at a later board meeting. I'm requesting that you all amend that motion as it.
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation regarding the salary schedule.
Motion by Mr. Inkster.
I second.
Second by Mr. Cecil. Any discussion on that? Comment?
So of this draft, the only portion of this 19-page draft that we're approving is the bus driver salary schedule. And can you briefly tell us what the change is in the bus driver salary schedule?
We've struggled all year with the fact that we do not have enough bus drivers, to the point that there were some days that we had it, I don't know, 5, 6, Mr. Glasgow can probably agree, extra folks driving the bus. We were under salaries from surrounding districts, and we want to increase our bus driver salaries pay from around $12, and there was some change on there, to $14 starting pay. Actually, the way this salary schedule is going to look is that our bus drivers, our mechanics, and our maintenance staff are all going to be working on the same salary schedule. I don't have it pulled up right in front of me. Like you said, it's a 19-page document, but for the bus drivers, I think it's around $14.10, and it'll cap out over 30 years to around $18. So that's the only thing I would like for you to consider as just what you all said. You've not had this a long time to look at. There's still some additional things that need to be worked out on that, and I want to make sure that that we do that. There's just some things that need to be worked on, and I want to have the time to do that. It is May the 25th. As long as we've got the salary schedule in place by July 1, we're okay shape to move forward with making sure everyone gets paid. Obviously, we'd like to do that sooner just because payroll needs a little bit more time, but it's not something that is a dire emergency. You may be asking why then are we doing bus drivers? Because we want to advertise an increase in pay, because it does take several weeks for a person to become certified to drive a bus. School starts in 10 weeks. Mr. Spalding's requested that we can advertise that in the newspaper, try to get some bus drivers in place, and we feel like with the increase in that we are more competitive with surrounding districts, that we'll get some bus drivers in here, and we can make sure our kids are safe. And we also thinking about our employees as well, because we've got folks that are basically working a full day, 8 hours. They're coming in at 6 o'clock in the morning to drive a bus, and they're all ending to 5:30 in the evening. So they're doing their job and driving a bus.
You know,
That's my explanation.
Although, you have a question, Mr. Pinkston?
We need to make the motion now.
Okay.
I move that we approve the salary schedule for bus drivers. Is that correct, Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Delane Pinkston,
I'll second.
second by Butch Cecil. Now any discussions, comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, like sign, ayes have it.